We all know that automobiles and other forms of transportation release mass amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere.
But have you thought about the effects of what you eat? The animal agribusiness also contributes significantly to the increasing levels of greenhouse gases in the troposphere, which is the leading factor of global warming. But which do you think is worse for the environment?
What you eat?
Or what you drive?
Although transportation that relies on fossil fuels account for 26% of all U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, animal agriculture only accounts for 9%.
However, the 9% does not include the transport of livestock and other agriculture products, the fossil fuel energy used to store animals and maintain factory farms, the amount of carbon dioxide released into the air through deforestation, and more. So imagine the dramatic percentage increase if it did include all of these things.
Our reliance on cattle has skyrocketed, considering the fact that they have the ability to provide us with both milk and meat. But is our heavy reliance on cattle worth more than the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that the animal agriculture sector generates?
Carbon dioxide is considered to be an extremely powerful and impactful greenhouse gas, as it has the most direct impact on the rising global temperature. When people think about carbon dioxide emissions, most would think of the burning of fossil fuels, which is directly correlated to automobiles and other forms of transportation.
Although automobiles account for 1/5 of carbon dioxide emissions due to the fact that they need crude oil for gasoline, animal agriculture is linked to the buildup of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere in more than just one way.
Factory farmed animals are typically fed high energy crops such as corn, which depends on vast amounts of chemical fertilizer for crop productivity. The Food and Agriculture Organization, which is an agency of the United Nations that leads international efforts to defeat hunger, estimates that the production of fertilizer for feed crops may emit 41 million tons of carbon dioxide per year globally.
In terms of processing and packaging, the food industry uses large quantities of liquid carbon dioxide for freezing and preserving food. They're also a major emitter of carbon dioxide, which is produced during the stages of food processing and transportation. Through these processes, approximately tens of millions of tons of carbon dioxide are emitted into the atmosphere every year.
Transportation already contributes to 26% of all U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, and with the animal agriculture sector's reliance on automobiles to transport food from place to place, more carbon dioxide is released.
Let's move on to deforestation. Forests are important carbon sinks, sequestering carbon and having the ability to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Deforestation for animal agriculture, both for clearing land for feed crops and for grazing, may release 2.4 billion tons of carbon dioxide annually.
Moving on to fueling factory farms, confinement operations rely on fossil fuel energy to cool, heat, and ventilate the facilities. The energy is also used to operate farm machinery to cultivate and harvest feed crops, resulting in at least 90 million tons of carbon dioxide annually worldwide. Animal agriculture continues to take on a bigger impact in the world in addition to the increasing levels of carbon dioxide.
As we mentioned earlier, animal agriculture only accounts for 9% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. But the 9% is only responsible for agricultural soils, rice production, and of course, livestock such as cows.
Let's take into account that not only does the animal agribusiness have a high fossil fuel energy demand, but also releases large amounts of greenhouse gases, such as methane from the livestock waste products. But how does methane and animal agriculture relate to one another? Domestic livestock such as cattle, cows, and goats produce large amounts of methane as a part of the normal digestive process, so naturally, the animal's manure releases the methane into the atmosphere as it decomposes, making agriculture the primary source of methane emissions.
Accounting for 35 to 40% of anthropogenic methane emissions, animals such as cows and goats release methane during digestion of grasses.
Waste from cows greatly affect the climate with very large amounts of methane production, and methane has about 25 times more heating potential than carbon dioxide, meaning the gas can trap up to hundreds of times more heat in the atmosphere over time. As the number of natural forests and grasslands decrease due to deforestation, the number of large-scale agriculture increases. Not only is the cultivation of animals a big consumer of fossil fuels, but it is also responsible for tremendous usage of land.
Agriculture is the direct cause of over 80% of tropical deforestation. The deforestation of numerous tropical forests for farmland result in massive loss of biodiversity, harming native species and destroying the ecosystem.
Conversion of forests to agriculture is a very rapidly increasing trend due to agricultural expansion. In the United States alone, 80% of the agricultural land is used to raise animals for food and growing grain to feed the animals. Let's take a look at the air pollution caused by the production of animals. As a result of the increased deforestation combined with animal waste producing methane, there are greatly decreasing numbers of trees that can potentially absorb the carbon dioxide as a part of the carbon cycle, causing increased carbon dioxide and methane buildup in the atmosphere. With a small number of trees combined with emissions from the millions of automobiles, carbon dioxide will continue to build up in the atmosphere along with the other greenhouse gases and continue to trap large amounts of heat on the Earth. The combination of massive numbers of greenhouse gases, it will act as a blanket in the atmosphere, gradually increasing global temperature.
Not only has there been a high demand for fossil fuels recently for things like heat and electricity, but there also has been a growing demand for livestock due to overpopulation.
So, which is more harmful? Consider the fact that while cars have been a more threatening and direct source of pollution, accounting for approximately 20 to 30% of greenhouse gas emissions, the truth is that the long term effects of animal agriculture have been harming the planet and will continue to persistently impact the environment a little more than automobiles.
The methane production from the cows, combined with the loss of forests preventing carbon dioxide buildup, caused livestock production to be a major cause in the buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, greatly contributing to global climate change on a much larger scale than the world's fuel-burning automobiles.
When it comes to the key versus the fork, you just gotta meet the truth on which is more detrimental to the world.